Tyrone here, and I have a lot to say. Too many boys are being raised in households where the father is absent and the mother is doing it all. It's not working. And before the usual backlash begins, yes, women initiate about 70% of divorces. That's not a judgment. It's a statistic. But it is a problem when emotional decisions made without foresight leave boys without guidance, structure, or a clear example of manhood. Boys raised without a masculine influence often struggle with identity, lack emotional control, and have no strong framework for discipline or resilience. Masculinity isn't toxic. It's essential, and no boy learns to be a man without seeing one in action. That's not a dig at women. It's the truth. We need to stop pretending that women alone can teach boys how to be men. The data doesn't support it. Boys raised without fathers face higher rates of dropout, incarceration, depression, and suicide. These are real outcomes, not opinion. Many well-meaning mothers try to raise their sons with the only tools they know: emotional expressiveness, protective instincts, and a maternal lens. But that often leads to boys becoming reactive, confused, and unable to face the real world with clarity or confidence. And when those boys struggle mentally or emotionally, the common answer is therapy, which is fine. But therapy isn't a substitute for fatherhood. It's a supplement, not a fix. Too often, boys are handed off to systems, schools, counselors, courts, instead of being raised with consistent masculine mentorship. That's not proactive parenting. That's avoidance. And let's talk about the bigger picture. The modern single mother often raises her sons to adopt behaviors that mirror hers: emotional reasoning, social climbing, and instability in relationships. Then she wonders why her daughters can't find solid men, when the boys under her own roof aren't being shaped into them. This isn't about bashing. It's about honesty. Accountability matters, from both parents, and the numbers speak for themselves. Questions for single mothers. Who is the primary male figure in your son's life? Who is responsible for shaping his understanding of masculinity? Who teaches him to think critically or handle conflict? Where does he turn for guidance when facing challenges at school or with peers? Who is modeling leadership for him? I could continue, but the core issue is clear. Boys raised in single-mother households often lack consistent, hands-on male role models. While some may point to distant celebrities or fictional figures, these are no substitute for a real-life man who actively mentors them in practical skills, decision-making, and emotional resilience. Some women believe they can raise boys without male influence, but this can unintentionally limit a boy's exposure to masculine perspectives. Enrolling him in sports or clubs helps, but these interactions are often temporary. Once practice ends, so does the mentorship. Masculinity isn't learned through lectures or certificates. It's absorbed through observation, trial and error, and real-time correction. Take a playground fight, for example. A mother's instinct is often to protect her child, which is natural and valid. But a man might approach the situation differently. Both may ask, "What happened?" But a father or male mentor is more likely to scrutinize the why behind the conflict, even if it means holding his son accountable for provoking it. Women often focus on assigning blame, who's right or wrong, while men may emphasize cause and effect. Was your behavior the catalyst? Then don't be surprised by the outcome. This isn't about fault-finding, but about teaching accountability. If a boy learns that his actions have consequences, even uncomfortable ones, he develops critical judgment. But if accountability is avoided, he may adopt a pattern of deflection, which hinders his growth into a responsible man. The goal isn't to diminish the incredible effort of single mothers, but to highlight a gap that needs addressing. Boys benefit from male guidance, not just in structured activities, but in the day-to-day lessons that shape character. The unique value of a father's influence in a boy's life. A father's role is to challenge his son, push him beyond his comfort zone, and guide him through the difficult transition into manhood. When a boy succeeds, his father's validation reinforces his confidence and competitiveness among peers. And when he fails, a father helps him reflect, learn, and adjust, teaching him to think critically rather than react impulsively. This process cultivates discipline, accountability, and foresight, qualities essential for maturity. Mothers, by nature, often approach problems with emotional intuition, valuable in its own right, but different from the structured cause and effect reasoning that many fathers emphasize. Without a strong male influence, boys may adopt emotional response patterns that, while natural in many women, can leave them ill-equipped for challenges requiring restraint, leadership, or analytical thinking. The solution isn't to criticize single mothers, who often do their best under difficult circumstances, but to acknowledge that boys need positive male role models. Whether through involved fathers, uncles, coaches, or mentors, society must ensure boys have access to the balanced upbringing they deserve. Strong men aren't born, they're shaped. And that shaping requires both masculine and feminine influences. This isn't about blaming mothers. It's about recognizing that boys benefit from both parenting approaches. A boy raised solely with a feminine perspective may struggle with emotional regulation, accountability, and decisiveness, not because he's inherently flawed, but because he's missing key developmental experiences that fathers typically provide. Without male guidance, he may default to frustration, passive aggression, or excessive validation seeking, traits that hinder personal growth and social success. The result? A generation of young men who lack direction, struggle with self-discipline, and often feel lost in a world that still expects them to lead, problem solve, and endure hardship. Video games and digital distractions may temporarily channel their energy, but they don't replace real-world mentorship. We're witnessing a troubling trend in how young men define masculinity. For many boys today, their only male role models are celebrity athletes, often themselves products of fatherless homes. These idols frequently promote a distorted version of manhood, where self-worth is measured in material wealth and social media clout. The message absorbed by impressionable youth becomes dangerously simplistic. Accumulate money and fame, and you've achieved manhood. When we ask young men to define masculinity, we're met with confusion. Answers typically revolve around being agreeable, emotionally expressive, and pleasing to women. Worthy qualities, but incomplete. Rarely do we hear about the foundational virtues of leadership, responsibility, or protective instincts that have traditionally defined mature manhood. This isn't to disparage single mothers, who often perform heroically under difficult circumstances. Rather, it's an observation about the vacuum of masculine guidance in our culture. When boys lack fathers or mentors to model balanced masculinity, they turn to whatever examples society offers them. And often, these examples reduce manhood to superficial markers of success. The solution isn't nostalgia for some imagined past, but a renewed commitment to providing boys with real-world examples of integrity, discipline, and purpose. True masculinity isn't about domination or wealth accumulation. It's about character, service, and quiet strength. Our young men deserve better models than what pop culture currently provides. We need to have this conversation honestly, because the stakes, for individuals and society, couldn't be higher.